today's webinar, we are bringing a deeper reflection on Khalil Gibran's book, The Prophet. We know that Khalil Gibran wrote several other books, and but probably the most known is The Prophet. And he himself, Khalil Gibran, he had a very special life. He had many shortcomings in his childhood and his youth. And he, since very young, he looked for that inner connection with the meaning of life, with a deeper source of wisdom. And he was influenced by not only the Islamic poetry and Sufism, but also by Christianity and also by Blavatsky theosophy and so on. So everything he writes as a poetry, and he uses a very, very beautiful language. And he uses a lot of metaphors, symbols, and in a way, even if we haven't read the book, we have probably been touched by some quotes or by its language that speaks straight to the heart. And that's why we thought would be a very nice idea to just share this with you. And of course, we'll try to go through some quotes of the book, the main idea of some chapters, and I'm sorry already in advance if we cannot go through every chapter. Maybe you have one favorite chapter or some quotes that really speak to you. And then you're more than welcome to share with us when we open for discussion for our conversation. So the book is about, the main character is Al-Mustafa, this person that comes to an island, to a city, where he's going to spend 12 years of his life there. And throughout those 12 years that he spends in that city, for every day, every moment of those 12 years, he is longing for going back home. So he's always connected to his homeland in this longing for a ship that should come to pick him up. So he's all the time looking to see if the ship had arrived or not. And exactly after 12 years, the ship arrives to collect him. And that is a moment of extreme joy for him, for Al-Mustafa. And all that is already very symbolic, because Al-Mustafa is the beloved one, as the name, if we translate the name means the beloved one or the chosen one. And Khalil Gibran is making a reference to a journey that the chosen one or the beloved one is going to walk, or a path that he's going to walk. And that journey is taking place in the island throughout those 12 years. And if we make a reference to that journey to other spiritual teachings, we can see that it has always been spoken about the journey of the soul, or the journey to awakening, that every human being should go through. And with this book, it's not different. So he's using a different story to talk about one and the same thing that had been talked about before him, with, for example, the journey of Buddha to enlightenment, or the journey from John and Jesus and Christ to also to freedom and to ascension. And as all of us, we are candidates to that journey. And Khalil Gibran is calling us using a very poetic and beautiful language, he's calling us to go that journey of awareness, of awakening, awakening to an inner wisdom that is already there. But we have to go through those experiences. We have to go through the 12 years, symbolically speaking here, for really getting there, for really getting to that enlightenment as Buddha went. So to get in touch with that wisdom, that is the invitation from the book. And another very important symbol of the book is Almitra, that is the feminine power that is there. The first thing when he comes to the island, that power is there. That feminine power speaks to him as the voice of the soul or the voice of intuition. But here, not an intuition related to emotions, but an intuition that comes from that deep place within himself. And that intuition speaks to him. That intuition encourages him through his journey. And in the same way, after those 12 years, when he's ready to go back home, after he's ready to go back to his original place, that intuition is there again, telling him, please, can you share with all of us, with the people of the city, the wisdom that you have gained throughout these years during your journey? And then again, this wisdom is the wisdom that every human being can get to. It is an invitation to each one and every one of us to become that Al-Mustafa, to go our own inner journey to the wisdom, to that awakening, to the original place, to that homeland that he's always longing for. So, and before he starts sharing his wisdom with the people, he already says exactly that. He says, what can I share with you that is already not moving in your own souls? So it is already there. It is already in you, in yourself. I cannot bring you anything different, anything new. It is just about awakening to that truth that is already in you. So he already starts the sharing the wisdom, telling that there is nothing new, that we have that within ourselves. And then he starts, and the book goes through different lessons and different topics related to that inner journey of the soul. And we will go through some of them. Like I said, I cannot talk about all of them or bring all the quotes because they are really, really beautiful. Everything in that book speaks to our hearts. And but we'll go through some of them. And to begin with, we are bringing the chapter about house or about home that speaks about that homeland that Al-Mustafa or all of us are all the time longing for, looking forward to going back there. So he brings, Khalil Gibran warns us, the readers, that that home is not the external home where we see walls and windows and roof that is very limited. It's not our external home, but it is our inner home, the inner home which is boundless, which is not limited by any walls, by any roof. And he even mentions in that chapter that our wings should never be limited by any wall, by any windows. The wings that we have, They are free, and they should be free in the space, because that space is our home. And there he says in that sentence, for that which is boundless in you abides in the mansion of the sky, whose door is the morning mist, and whose windows are the songs and the silences of the night. So it is boundless, that is boundless in us. And it's not in me, it's not boundless in you, it's in everyone and everything. It is the interconnectedness that exists between that what is boundless in me and in you and in life, in everything that is beyond our planet, anything that lives. So we should find that home that is not a geographical place like the homeland that he wants or longs to return to. It's not a geographical place, but it is a state that we find within ourselves, that it's limitless. Nothing or anyone can put limits in that. And from that place, from that home that is limitless, he goes on to talk about love. And love is always a very strong topic, because we feel that we feel that strength, that power that comes from that boundless home that he refers to, that limitless place within ourselves. And so therefore that is not an emotion, and it is not that what he's talking about here. He's talking about that universal love. He's talking about the power that is not only revealing, but is healing above anything else. And in that first quote, he writes, love gives nothing but itself, and takes nothing but from itself. Love possesses not, nor would it be possessed, for love is sufficient to love. And that is a reference to the Corinthians love from the Bible. That is the power that is not only patient and kind, but it's selfless. It's not looking for anything for itself. And it rejoices with the truth, which is one of the most important things here, because he tries to call our attention to the revealing power of love. That love tries to break the shell of our ignorance. It tries to break the shell of our sleeping state. So love is a power that comes from that boundless. It is universal. And then he says, when love beckons to you, follow him, though his ways are hard and steep. And when he speaks to you, believe in him, though his voice may shatter your dreams as the north wind lays waste the garden. All these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. Love rejoices with the truth. Love may shatter your dreams, like he writes there. But by shattering our dreams, love takes our consciousness from that sleeping state. It reveals the truth, because love rejoices with the truth, like is in the Bible. It is the same power that he refers to here. It rejoices with the truth. It reveals the truth to us. And whenever love does that, you will get closer to the secrets of your own heart. And in that knowledge of your own secrets of your own heart, you become a fragment of the whole. You become part of life's heart, which is one and the same with our heart, with that boundless in us, with that limitless in us. So the heart is the starting point for that universal love, for that power. The heart has a secret, and that not only here Khalil Gibran is referring to, but other spiritual teachings have referred to as the jewel in the heart, or as the lotus flower, or as the golden Rosycross refers to as the rosebud in the heart. That is the power of the boundless. That is the original home. That is the homeland. And the power that comes from there is love. And as love, he goes and speaks about time, which is also always making reference to that state within the human being. Time and space are experienced by our limited consciousness, but in reality, that what is our true self, that what is our giant self, like Khalil Gibran calls a little further on, is timeless. So it is not only boundless, it is timeless. And that what is timeless in you is aware of life's timelessness and knows that yesterday is but today's memory and tomorrow is today's dream. So the timeless in us knows that the past doesn't exist. It made us, it brought us here where we are, and that has to be respected. But that doesn't exist anymore. The future doesn't exist. So the eternity is in the present. And he calls our attention to that present moment, to that timeless, that eternity that is not only part of our own heart, of our own true self, but it is part of life. It's part of life's heart, like he said. And if we go here to give you an image of how that is meant, with time being something that we experience every day. We know that there is birth and death. We experience time every day. But there is also the timeless. There is also that eternal that is in the present moment and within ourselves. And to make that an image of that, we can think of a wheel that has its center, and in its center, it is immutable. It is timeless, it's boundless. And in that center, it's the eternal. It is the homeland that Al-Mustafa in the book is wanting for so long to want to go back to. So that what is timeless is the center of the wheel, and it is in the center of our being as human beings. But the wheel has its periphery, and the wheel in the periphery is our consciousness. And the consciousness, very limited the way that we are now, is far from that center, from that wheel. It does not live in that center of the will. It has gone always outwards, looking always outwards, looking for the next thing to have, to accomplish. And those are the dreams that he refers to in the love chapter, that love may shatter your dreams. It is those dreams that we build ourselves in our own consciousness that makes us go our journey outside, always out, instead of going back to the journey of the soul. It is always pointing out. So in the movement of our consciousness, we experience time and space. And with time and space, we experience pain, and we experience joy and sorrow, good and evil. And all those things, they are not from the timeless. They are from the limited consciousness that, as he explains there, he refers to as sleeping consciousness. So it is the journey to go back to that center that he invites us to. It is that journey to go back to homeland, to the homeland boundless and timeless, to that wisdom that he tells, I cannot tell you anything else than what you already know, the wisdom that is within us. So he goes, and that which sings and contemplates in you is still dwelling within the bonds of that first moment which scattered the stars into space. Who among you does not feel that his power to love is boundless? So he refers to that first moment where the stars got scattered into space. That is where we come from. It is since always that this eternity, this original space within us is there. So it is not, it does not does not bend to time. It is eternal. And then he goes through some chapters that face us with the results of that consciousness that is always in the periphery, looking outside for answers. And that consciousness that hasn't realized that the journey is that back home to the center of the will. And then he gives us a different perspective on good and evil, a different perspective on joy and sorrow, and so on. So through pain, we get in touch with all those aspects. And he has a chapter about pain, and the pain is the revealing point, is that what helps us to realize something if we are willing to do so. Otherwise, pain is just pain. But if there is an awareness, we can see what that pain is bringing us, what is revealing, what is trying to tell us. And that can be a very strong propeller to that journey back to the homeland. And here it's one of the most beautiful chapters about good and evil. He says that in your longing for your giant self lies your goodness, and that longing is in all of you. Isn't it beautiful? It's in all of us. It's in everyone, even those that we look and we don't feel we don't match exactly as human beings, but that longing for the giant self is our goodness. And that is in all of us, no exception. And the goodness is the essence. Again, the goodness is not the opposite of evil. It's not. The goodness is an absolute attribute of the soul. As love is not the opposite of hatred. It is the absolute attribute of the power of the unseen, of the spirit, of that what is referred to as homeland. So you are good when you are one with yourself. You are good when you strive to give of yourself. You are good when you're fully awake in your speech. You are good in countless ways. And you're not evil when you're not good. You're only loitering and sluggard. So there is no evil in essence. We are good when we are one with that what is boundless. And being one with that what is boundless, being one with ourselves first, that recognition of that boundless within ourselves, then we are one with the rest, with everything else. And when we are fully awake in our speech, then we are good. Then we are in that goodness. It is again about awakening to that goodness that is already there. And so we are not evil. We are only loitering and sluggard. Meaning, you're not evil. Your essence is goodness, but you are very sleepy and you're very lazy and you're not willing to see what is already there. That is what he calls evil. So not the opposite of good, but the absence of consciousness. Joy and sorrow on the same direction. So verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you're empty, you are at standstill and balanced. So emptiness, again, he's referring to being empty, empty from everything that brings limit to our boundless, our ideas, our preconceptions, our expectations, everything that we create that is part of our unconscious state, that is what keeps us so filled with so much. And then we experience joy and sorrow in the periphery of that wheel, joy and sorrow. Then when that is not there, when the consciousness turns inward, that joy and sorrow are not in fighting mode anymore. And that is exactly what he says about reason and passion. Here, he's also referring to that lack of balance between head and heart. That is part of that periphery of the consciousness, that it's not in the center, but in periphery. It is not that heart and head are a battlefield, like in a battlefield sometimes. Your soul is oftentimes a battlefield upon which your reason and your judgment wage war against your passion and your appetite. That not because one is good and the other one is bad, and we try to convince ourselves sometimes about the head and the heart. So this is now good. Let's try to balance here and there. It's not about that. It is about working together. It is not one being the winner over the other. It's about working together. It is about the connection that has to happen between head and heart, between reason and heart. And then he gives us a very beautiful tip, a beautiful quote about that. So he goes on, for reason, ruling alone, is a force confining. So reason is confining, and passion unattended, it's a flame that burns to its own destruction. Therefore, here it comes. Therefore, let your soul exalt your reason to the height of passion, that it may sing, and let it direct your passion with reason, that your passion may live through its own daily resurrection, and like the phoenix, rise above its own ashes. So he says, let your soul, it is the starting point. The soul that we referred to before as the lotus flower in the heart, the spirit spark in the heart, the rosebud in the heart. Let the soul exalt your reason to the height of your passion, and let the soul direct your passion with reason. So the soul is the guiding point in everything, is the center of that will, is the homeland, is the limitless that has to be the guide, that has to connect head and heart, that has to bring both of them to work together and not separate. So our deeds, our actions can be in accordance to that balanced head and heart. And through all of that, through experiencing the will and the pain and all what we go through in our daily lives, a human being has the opportunity to get to that self-knowledge. And there he brings us again to the starting point, that your hearts know in silence the secrets of the days and the nights. The hidden wellspring of your soul must need to rise and run murmuring to the sea, and the treasure of your infinite depths would be revealed to your eyes. So when the heart that knows the silence, that knows the secrets in silence, he knows all secrets. When that is awakened, when it's running to the sea, then all the treasures are being revealed to our eyes. So then we get to know ourselves. We get to know the power of that homeland, of that boundless, and we get to see the limits of our own consciousness without calling it evil, without calling it bad, but we get to see it because we get awakened to the reality in us. And there is no judgment in that. We get just to know ourselves. But the starting point is always the heart. It's always the center of the wheel. And here, the heart is not the emotional center that we talked before of the passion. No, it is the heart as the spiritual center of a human life, of the human being. That is the heart that he refers to, the one that knows the secrets of days and nights. For self is a sea boundless and measureless. Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Say not, I have found the path of the soul, but rather, I have met the soul walking upon my path. For the soul walks upon all paths. The soul walks not upon a line, neither does it grow like a reed. The soul unfolds itself like a lotus of countless petals. Just like the picture of the lotus, it is multidimensional. It is not like the reed It's not upon a line. The soul, it's everywhere. The soul is that what connects us to the boundless and the timeless. So I have not found the path of the soul, but I have met the soul walking upon my path, because the soul does not need to be met. The soul is already there. That knowledge, that wisdom is already there. While we are walking our own paths, while we are with our limited consciousness in that wheel, we have the opportunity daily to meet with the soul. But we have to be willing to see. We have to be awakened enough to see what it is bringing us as a reality. And then coming to the end, when that flower has bloomed, work is love made visible. So the task of that candidate, the task of Al-Mustafa, when he comes to that blooming, when he comes to referring to Buddha, to that enlightenment, his task goes on. It is a different task. He works for humanity now in a different plan, in a different way. So when heart and head are working together through the work, through the connecting power of the soul, then our deeds, our actions are based on that balance. And work is our actions. It is love made visible. And when you work with love, you bind yourself, to one another, and to God, because there is no difference. But I say, not in sleep, but in the over wakefulness of noontide, that the wind speaks. And he alone is great, who turns the voice of the wind into a song made sweeter by his own loving. So the wind goes through us, and we can express it through our own loving. And the last one is the freedom that comes with that journey of the soul, or spiritual journey, as the Golden Rosycross refers to. It is the journey that goes from that heart, from that awakening of the consciousness, always looking inside, knowing that the power of transformation lies there within. The freedom or the liberation. And he says, you shall be free indeed, when your days are not without a care, nor your nights without a want and a grief, but rather when these things girdle your life, and yet you rise above them, naked and unbound. So in the moment that we are not longing to be free, but that we are free, we are not wishing for freedom anymore, because we know the state of freedom. He refers to here as the state that is not a perfect state, because we will still have grief and pain and things and sorrow that go on in our daily lives. But freedom is when we rise above all of that. And that is not yet what defines us. It's not yet what we call our identity, but something else, something of the wisdom, the eternal in us, is our true identity. And then we rise above that all, naked and unbound. So thank you for listening, and these words from Khalil Gibran